Hello there, and welcome to the Dreamy Science Channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe your mind won't stop asking questions. Maybe you're the kind of person whose curiosity keeps them awake. You found the right place. Here, wonder becomes a lullaby. Tonight, we'll drift through 99 gentle wonders about Earth, from the deepest oceans to the smallest forms of life. From glowing creatures in the dark to ancient forests that whisper beneath your feet. Let these quiet facts be your companions as you rest. If these quiet journeys help you unwind, you're welcome to like and subscribe, or simply let your thoughts drift. And if these facts are too interesting to sleep through tonight, they'll be here tomorrow night too. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body rest. Let your mind slow down. Tonight's 99 facts aren't random wonders. They're threads in Earth's interconnected story. From immortal jellyfish to underground forests, you'll see how everything whispers to everything else. And just before we drift into tonight's wonders, a quiet invitation. If these journeys help you rest, if they become part of how you end your day, you might want to subscribe. Not for us, for yourself. So these nights are easier to find when your mind won't settle. You can turn on notifications or let them stay silent. Come when you need to, stay as long as you'd like. Some of you will hear all 99 facts tonight. Others will hear only 7 before sleep arrives. Both are perfect. This channel exists for one reason: to help you rest. Everything else is just details. Now, let's begin with the first wonder. The first wonders wait in Earth's deepest places, the oceans. Immortal jellyfish. Deep in the ocean, there's a jellyfish that can turn back time. The Turritopsis dohrnii, barely 5 millimeters wide, possesses something no other animal on Earth has mastered: the ability to reverse its own aging process completely. When this tiny creature faces stress, injury, starvation, or simply the weight of old age, it doesn't die. Instead, it transforms. Its adult cells convert back into juvenile cells. Its bell-shaped body shrinks and reattaches to a surface, and it begins life over again as a polyp. Scientists call this transdifferentiation, the process of one cell type becoming another. For the immortal jellyfish, it's simply survival. You could theoretically keep one of these creatures alive forever in a lab, watching it cycle through youth and maturity endlessly. In the wild, they still die, eaten by predators, succumbing to disease, but never from old age itself. They've escaped the one certainty that governs every other living thing. Somewhere in the ocean right now, a jellyfish that may have been born centuries ago is beginning its life cycle again. Bioluminescence symphony. In the midnight zone of the ocean, where sunlight hasn't reached for millions of years, you'd find yourself surrounded by living light. Scientists estimate that up to 90% of deep-sea creatures create their own bioluminescence through chemical reactions in specialized cells called photophores. This isn't decoration, it's survival. Some species dangle glowing lures in front of their mouths, attracting curious prey into their jaws. Others release clouds of luminescent fluid when attacked, confusing predators in a blinding flash of blue-green light. Many use bioluminescence as a language, flashing patterns to find mates in the endless dark. If you could dive to these depths and survive the crushing pressure, you'd witness something few humans ever see: a universe of cold fire. Jellyfish pulse with ethereal glows. Fish trail luminous streaks behind them. Squid coordinate hunting parties with synchronized light displays. The darkness isn't empty, it's alive with a symphony of light that's been playing since before the first creatures crawled onto land. A hidden world that glows without heat, creating beauty from chemistry alone. The pressure of the deep. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, nearly 7 miles below the ocean's surface, the water pressure reaches over 1,000 times what you experience at sea level. To put that in perspective, it's like having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of your body, pressing down from every direction at once. A human dropped to that depth would be crushed instantly, their lungs collapsed, their bones fractured. Yet life thrives there in abundance. Creatures called amphipods scurry across the seafloor, feeding on the constant rain of organic matter from above. Snailfish with translucent skin swim through water that would turn your submarine into a tin can. These organisms have evolved bodies with no air spaces to collapse, with special proteins that resist deformation under extreme pressure, with cell membranes that remain fluid in conditions that would solidify yours. What kills you in seconds is simply home for them. They've never known anything else. The crushing weight that makes the deep sea uninhabitable for almost everything is just another adaptation challenge that life has solved. Another reminder that, wherever conditions exist, life finds a way to exist there too. Whale songs travel oceans. Right now, somewhere in the Pacific, a humpback whale is singing, and its voice is traveling thousands of miles through the water. These aren't simple calls. They're complex songs that can last 20 minutes and repeat for hours, sometimes days. Male humpbacks sing during breeding season, and remarkably, all the males in a population sing the same song. Even more remarkably, that song changes gradually over time, evolving like human music, with new phrases added and old ones dropped. Scientists have recorded songs traveling over 10,000 miles through the ocean's sound channel, a layer of water where temperature and pressure create a natural acoustic highway. Sound moves nearly 5 times faster through water than through air, and the ocean's properties allow these low-frequency calls to travel incredible distances with minimal loss. Whales separated by entire ocean basins can potentially hear each other. What they're saying remains partly mysterious, but the communication itself is undeniable. You're part of a planet where creatures the size of buses compose poetry that crosses oceans, where music exists in the deep that humans only discovered recently, where the seas are never silent. Coral reef symbiosis. When you look at a coral reef, you're not seeing one organism. You're witnessing the result of one of Earth's most successful partnerships. The coral animal itself is tiny, a soft-bodied creature related to jellyfish. But within its tissues live millions of microscopic algae called zooxanthellae. These algae photosynthesize, converting sunlight into sugars and providing up to 90% of the coral's energy. In return, the coral provides the algae with shelter, nutrients from its waste products, and ideal conditions for photosynthesis. Neither organism can thrive alone. The coral would starve without its algae. The algae would be consumed by grazers without the coral's protection. Together, they've built the largest living structures on Earth, reef systems visible from space, created by creatures so small you'd need a microscope to properly see them individually. These partnerships have persisted for millions of years, surviving mass extinctions, supporting more species per square meter than any other marine environment. It's cooperation on a planetary scale, a reminder that some of Earth's greatest achievements come not from competition, but from creatures figuring out how to help each other survive. Seahorse fathers give birth. In the seahorse world, males carry the babies, not just metaphorically, but literally. Female seahorses deposit their eggs into a special pouch on the male's body, where he fertilizes and carries them for 2 to 4 weeks. During this time, the male's pouch provides oxygen, regulates salt levels, and even supplies nutrients through a placenta-like structure remarkably similar to mammalian pregnancy. When the time comes, the male goes into labor, contracting his pouch muscles in waves to expel anywhere from 5 to 2,000 fully formed baby seahorses into the water. They emerge tiny but complete, miniature versions of their parents, ready to cling to seagrass with their prehensile tails. The father doesn't care for them after birth, they're on their own immediately. But for those weeks of gestation, he's one of the only male animals on Earth that truly experiences pregnancy. This role reversal has puzzled and fascinated scientists for decades, a reminder that evolution doesn't follow human assumptions about which sex does what. Nature experiments constantly, and sometimes those experiments stick. Octopus intelligence. An octopus has 9 brains, 1 central brain, and 8 smaller ones in each arm. This distributed intelligence allows each arm to act semi-independently, exploring a crevice or manipulating an object, while the central brain focuses elsewhere. They can solve puzzles, open childproof pill bottles, recognize individual humans, and remember solutions to problems for months. Some species use tools, carrying coconut shells to use as portable shelters. Others change not just their color, but their skin texture in 1/3 of a second, creating patterns that match coral, rock, or sand with uncanny precision. An octopus can squeeze through any opening larger than its hard beak, since everything else is soft tissue. They've been observed playing, bouncing objects back and forth for no obvious reason except apparent enjoyment. Yet despite this remarkable intelligence, they live only 1 to 2 years, dying after reproducing once. Their mothers starve themselves while guarding their eggs, wasting away as the babies develop. It's a strange paradox. Brilliant minds that never learn from elders, that must figure out everything alone, that die before wisdom accumulates. Deep-sea gigantism. In the deep ocean, things grow strangely large. Scientists call it deep-sea gigantism, and you'd be startled by the scale. Giant isopods, relatives of pill bugs you find in your garden, grow to 14 inches long. Spider crabs stretch 6 feet across. Colossal squid reach lengths of 46 feet, with eyes the size of dinner plates, the largest eyes in the animal kingdom. Even single-celled organisms down there grow to sizes visible to your naked eye, unlike their microscopic cousins in shallow water. Several factors drive this gigantism. The cold temperatures slow metabolism, allowing longer lifespans and continued growth. The extreme pressure affects cell biology in ways that permit larger sizes. Food is scarce, rewarding creatures that can survive long periods between meals, which larger bodies handle better. And perhaps most importantly, the deep sea has been stable for millions of years, giving evolution time to experiment with size in ways that wouldn't work in more variable environments. These gentle giants move slowly through eternal darkness, energy-efficient behemoths adapted to a world where being big offers unexpected advantages. Ocean's microbial engine. If you took a single drop of seawater and examined it under a microscope, you'd find about 1 million bacteria and 10 million viruses. These aren't contaminants, they're the ocean's invisible engine. Marine bacteria perform roughly half of Earth's photosynthesis, producing about half the oxygen you breathe right now. One genus alone, Prochlorococcus, is probably the most abundant photosynthetic organism on Earth, yet it was only discovered in 1988 because each cell is so microscopically small. These bacteria don't just produce oxygen, They cycle nutrients, break down pollutants, regulate atmospheric gases, and form the base of food webs, feeding everything larger. The viruses, meanwhile, kill about 20% of marine bacteria daily, releasing organic matter back into the water and driving evolution at extraordinary speeds. This microscopic world operates on scales and numbers almost impossible to comprehend. There are more bacteria in the ocean than stars in the observable universe. Every breath you take connects you to this invisible realm, to organisms you'll never see, that nonetheless sustain your life continuously. Kelp forest ecosystems. Along temperate coastlines, underwater forests of kelp grow taller than trees on land. Giant kelp, the largest species, can shoot up 2 feet per day in ideal conditions, reaching heights of over 100 feet from seafloor to surface. These aren't plants in the traditional sense. They're brown algae, held upright by gas-filled bladders that act as floats. The forests they create shelter thousands of species. Sea otters wrap themselves in kelp fronds while sleeping so they don't drift away. Fish hide among the swaying stalks. Seals hunt through the kelp corridors. The kelp itself doesn't have roots. It anchors to rocks with a holdfast that grips but doesn't extract nutrients. Everything it needs, it takes from the water flowing past. These forests are fragile, dependent on cold, nutrient-rich waters and the presence of sea otters to control sea urchin populations that would otherwise devour the kelp. When balanced, they're among Earth's most productive ecosystems. When disrupted, they can collapse in a season, leaving barren urchin barrens where forests once swayed. Ocean currents connect continents. The ocean is constantly moving in vast, connected currents that flow like rivers through the sea. The Gulf Stream alone carries more water than all the world's rivers combined, moving warm water from the Gulf of Mexico to northern Europe, and making places like Ireland and Britain far warmer than their latitude would suggest. These currents are driven by wind, Earth's rotation, temperature differences, and salinity variations. Together, they form what scientists call the global conveyor belt, a continuous circulation that takes about 1,000 years to complete one full cycle. Water that sank near Greenland might not resurface until it reaches the Pacific Ocean centuries later. This circulation distributes heat around the planet, moderates climate, carries nutrients from deep water to surface layers where life thrives, and even affects weather patterns far inland. You're connected to this system whether you live by the coast or not. The rain that falls on your head may have evaporated from a current thousands of miles away. The climate you experience depends on water moving through ocean basins you'll never see. Marine snow. In the open ocean, a constant snowfall drifts down through the water. But this snow is made of organic matter, not ice. Marine snow consists of dead plankton, fecal pellets, mucus, cast-off feeding structures, and aggregates of bacteria and other particles, all clumping together and slowly sinking toward the sea floor. It looks like underwater snowflakes drifting through the depths, and it's crucial to deep-sea life. This snow is the primary food source for many deep-sea creatures that have no other way to obtain energy in their dark world. Some animals have evolved to intercept it as it falls, like spiders catching flies in webs. Others wait on the bottom for the daily accumulation. The snow also plays a vital role in Earth's carbon cycle. When organic matter sinks to the deep ocean, it takes carbon with it, removing it from the atmosphere for hundreds or thousands of years. This biological pump helps regulate Earth's climate, moving carbon from air to sea floor in an endless, gentle snowfall that most humans never know exists. Whale falls create oases. When a whale dies and sinks to the ocean floor, it becomes an oasis in the desert of the deep. A single whale carcass can sustain a unique ecosystem for 50 years or more. Within hours of settling on the sea floor, scavengers arrive, sleeper sharks, hagfish, crabs, and amphipods that strip away soft tissue in a frenzied feast. This mobile scavenger stage lasts months to years. Next comes the enrichment opportunist stage, where worms, crustaceans, and mollusks colonize the sediment around the bones, feeding on organic matter that's leaked into the mud. Finally comes the sulfophilic stage, where specialized bacteria break down the lipids in the whale's bones, producing hydrogen sulfide. Chemosynthetic bacteria use this sulfide as an energy source, forming the base of a food web that includes zombie worms, which lack mouths and digestive systems, but bore into bones with root-like tissues to extract nutrients. Over 40 species exist only on whale falls, found nowhere else on Earth. These temporary islands of abundance in the deep sea may serve as stepping stones, allow species to spread between other chemosynthetic environments like hydrothermal vents. Tide pool survivors. Tide pools are among the harshest environments on Earth to call home. Twice a day, the tide retreats, leaving marine creatures exposed to air, sun, rain, temperature swings, and predators from both land and sea. Yet tide pools teem with life specifically adapted to this chaos. Sea anemones close up tight, protecting themselves with a layer of mucus. Limpets clamp down on rocks with such force that you'd need 50 pounds of pull to remove one. Mussels close their shells and wait. Sea stars slow their metabolism and tolerate hours of air exposure. The temperature in a tide pool can swing from near freezing to over 90 degrees Fahrenheit in a single day. Salinity can spike when sun evaporates water or plummet when rain dilutes it. Despite these extremes, tide pool creatures thrive, having evolved remarkable tolerances. They live in the boundary between ocean and land, belonging fully to neither, adapted to a world that changes completely twice daily on nature's most predictable schedule. Fish school synchronization. When thousands of fish move together in a school, they create patterns so coordinated they look choreographed. Yet there's no leader directing the group. Each fish follows 3 simple rules. Stay close to your neighbors, move in the same direction they're moving, and avoid collisions. From these basic rules emerges complex, fluid motion that confuses predators and helps individuals find food more efficiently. A predator attacking a school often triggers a cascade of movement that makes the whole group appear to split, reform, and swirl like liquid metal. Scientists studying this phenomenon have found that information moves through a school incredibly fast. A change in direction by a few individuals on one edge propagates through thousands of fish in less than a second, much faster than you'd expect from animals reacting to their immediate neighbors alone. This collective behavior, called emergent complexity, fascinates researchers because it shows how simple individual rules can create sophisticated group intelligence. The school as a whole seems to think and react, even though each fish is only following basic instincts. Anglerfish romance. Deep-sea anglerfish practice perhaps the strangest mating strategy in nature. In the lightless depths where finding a mate is nearly impossible, male anglerfish have evolved to become permanent parasites on females. When a male encounters a female, he bites into her body and never lets go. His tissues fuse with hers, his circulatory system connects to hers, and he essentially becomes an appendage, a sperm-producing organ that she carries with her. Over time, he degenerates, losing his eyes, fins, and most internal organs, surviving only through her bloodstream. Some female anglerfish carry 6 or more males fused to their bodies, ready to fertilize eggs whenever she's ready to spawn. This strategy, called sexual parasitism, ensures that females always have sperm available in an environment where encounters are rare. It's an extreme solution to an extreme problem, and it works. The male trades his independence and most of his body for guaranteed reproduction. The female gains reproductive insurance without having to search for mates in the endless dark. Sea turtle navigation. Sea turtles are born on beaches, scramble to the ocean, and spend decades wandering thousands of miles through open water. Yet, when it's time to lay eggs, females return to the same beach where they hatched, sometimes after 30 years away. How do they navigate with such precision across a featureless ocean? Scientists have discovered that sea turtles use Earth's magnetic field as a map. When they hatch, they imprint on the unique magnetic signature of their birth beach, a combination of magnetic intensity and inclination angle that varies by location. This magnetic signature acts like a fingerprint that identifies that specific stretch of coastline. As adults, they can detect tiny variations in the magnetic field and use this information to navigate, essentially reading an invisible map that surrounds the planet. They also use other cues, wave direction, water chemistry, perhaps even the position of stars, but the magnetic sense appears to be primary. It's a navigation system more sophisticated than anything humans possessed until the invention of GPS evolved over millions of years. From oceans that breathe to forests that whisper beneath your feet, trees whisper to each other through a hidden network beneath your feet. In the stillness of a forest, something remarkable is happening in the darkness below. Trees, long thought to be solitary giants, are connected by underground networks of fungal threads called mycorrhizae. Through these delicate filaments, trees exchange nutrients, send chemical signals, and even share warnings about drought or pests. Older trees, sometimes called mother trees, support their offspring by channeling sugars and resources through this hidden web. It's not a metaphor. It's a biological network so vast and complex that some scientists have begun calling it the Wood Wide Web. A birch tree might support a neighboring fir. A dying tree may pass its last reserves to the forest around it. It's a quiet form of intelligence, not conscious, but deeply cooperative. In this silent world of roots and fungi, the forest is not a collection of individuals, but a single, breathing, sharing community. Beneath every step you take in a forest lies an entire world you rarely see. Just a handful of soil contains more living organisms than there are people on Earth. Billions of bacteria, fungi, nematodes, and microbes work together, breaking down dead matter, cycling nutrients, and creating the rich foundation that feeds every tree and plant above. This hidden ecosystem is so diverse that scientists are still discovering new species with every sample they examine. Some microbes form partnerships with plant roots, helping them absorb water and minerals. Others defend against disease or create tiny channels that let air and water flow freely. Without this microscopic community, forests would not exist. The soil beneath your feet is not just dirt. It's a living, breathing tapestry, humming with life too small to see, but powerful enough to shape the world above. Redwood trees, some of the tallest living things on Earth, have roots that spread wide but surprisingly shallow. These giants, reaching over 300 feet into the sky, don't anchor deep into the ground like you might expect. Instead, their roots extend outward, intertwining with the roots of neighboring redwoods, creating a vast, interconnected mat. This network helps them support each other, sharing stability and resources. When storms come and winds howl, they stand together, each tree braced by its neighbors. It's a forest that holds itself upright through cooperation, not isolation. Redwoods can also sprout new growth from their base, and they resist fire, disease, and time with remarkable resilience. Some have lived for over 2,000 years, witnessing empires rise and fall, always reaching quietly toward the light. These land-based wonders, from underground networks to towering giants, remind us that life on Earth is deeply interconnected. The next fact continues this terrestrial journey. If you're still here, wonderful. If you've drifted, that's perfect too. Notice how your breath has slowed since we began. Feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into rest. Let the next fact carry you further with no effort needed. Some plants can hear the sound of water flowing underground. When a plant's roots need water, they don't search blindly. Recent research suggests that certain plants can detect the sound of water moving through soil and grow their roots toward it. The vibrations of flowing water seem to guide root development, helping the plant find moisture even when it's hidden deep below the surface. This isn't hearing in the way you experience sound, but it's a form of acoustic sensitivity that helps plants survive. They respond to frequencies, to vibrations, to the subtle movements of their environment. In the silence of the soil, plants listen and they respond. Ants and acacia trees have formed a partnership that's lasted millions of years. Certain species of acacia trees provide food and shelter for specific ant colonies. The trees grow hollow thorns where ants can nest and produce nectar-filled structures that feed them. In return, the ants fiercely defend their home, attacking any animal that tries to eat the leaves and even clearing competing plants from around the base of the tree. This relationship is so tightly woven that neither can thrive without the other. The tree has evolved to support its defenders, and the ants have evolved to protect their provider. It's cooperation written into biology, a contract millions of years old, still honored in forests and savannas today. Earthworms can regenerate lost segments of their bodies. If an earthworm is cut in half, one part, usually the head end, can sometimes regenerate the missing segments and survive. The extent of regeneration depends on where the worm is severed and which species it is. Some can regrow several segments, while others have more limited abilities. But all earthworms share a remarkable resilience. They tunnel through soil, aerating it, mixing nutrients, and creating pathways for water and roots. Their quiet work transforms barren ground into living earth. Beneath every garden and forest, these humble creatures labor endlessly, shaping the world 1 inch at a time. Bamboo can grow up to 3 feet in a single day. It's one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. In the right conditions, with warm temperatures and plenty of rain, certain bamboo species can shoot upward at astonishing speeds, sometimes growing more than 1 inch every hour. You could almost watch it rise if you stayed still long enough. This rapid growth comes from years of underground preparation. Bamboo spends seasons building an extensive root system before it ever breaks the surface. Then, when conditions are perfect, it surges upward in a burst of green. Strong, flexible, and renewable, bamboo has been used for building, food, and tools for thousands of years. Some mosses can survive being completely dried out for years. Mosses are among the most resilient plants on Earth. When water disappears, many species enter a state of dormancy called desiccation tolerance. They dry out completely, their cells shutting down, their color fading to brown. They appear lifeless, brittle, almost dust-like. But add water, and within hours they revive. Green returns, growth resumes. It's as if they were never gone. This ability allows mosses to colonize harsh environments like deserts, mountaintops, and polar regions, where water is scarce and conditions are extreme. Mosses don't have roots, flowers, or seeds in the traditional sense, but they've been on Earth for over 400 million years, older than most forests, thriving quietly in the smallest, most overlooked corners of the world. Fungi can break down plastic, petroleum, and even radiation. In the forests and soils of Earth, fungi work as nature's decomposers, breaking down dead matter and recycling nutrients. But some fungi have evolved to digest far stranger things. Certain species can break down plastics, oil spills, and toxic chemicals that would kill most other organisms. Even more remarkably, some fungi thrive in the radioactive ruins of Chernobyl, using melanin to convert radiation into chemical energy, much like plants use chlorophyll to capture sunlight. These so-called radiotrophic fungi grow toward radiation sources, feeding on what should destroy them. Fungi are not plants, not animals, but something in between. They occupy their own kingdom of life, vast, hidden, and essential. Wherever there's decay, wherever there's waste, fungi find a way to transform it back into the cycle of life. Seeds can travel across oceans and still sprout. Coconuts are famous for floating, but many other seeds have evolved to journey by water. Mangrove seeds, sea beans, and drift seeds can survive weeks or even months at sea, carried by currents from one coastline to another. Their protective coatings keep them viable through salt water, sun, and time. When they finally wash ashore, often on distant islands or faraway beaches, they take root and grow. This is how plants colonize new lands, drifting on the tides, patient and persistent. Each seed is a tiny vessel carrying the future, waiting for the right shore to call it home. Some trees can warn each other of insect attacks. When a giraffe begins eating the leaves of an acacia tree, the tree doesn't just sit passively. It releases chemicals called tannins that make its leaves bitter and less nutritious. But it also releases ethylene gas into the air, a warning signal that drifts downwind to neighboring trees. Those nearby trees, even though they haven't been touched, begin producing their own defensive compounds in preparation. It's a form of communication that happens in minutes, an invisible conversation carried on the breeze. The forest, it seems, has ways of speaking that we're only beginning to understand. Mangrove forests protect coastlines from storms and erosion. Where land meets sea, in the brackish, shifting zones of estuaries and tropical coasts, mangrove trees thrive. Their tangled roots rise above the water, creating dense, maze-like networks that slow waves, trap sediment, and stabilize shorelines. During hurricanes and tsunamis, mangrove forests act as natural barriers, absorbing the energy of incoming waves and reducing damage to inland areas. They also provide nurseries for fish, shelter for birds, and carbon storage that rivals even rainforests. But despite their value, mangroves are disappearing, cleared for coastal development and aquaculture. What remains stands quietly, roots deep in saltwater, holding the line between ocean and earth. Lichens are not one organism, but two living as one. On rocks, tree bark, and even gravestones, you'll find lichens, those crusty, colourful patches that seem to thrive where nothing else can. But lichens are not plants, they're partnerships. A fungus and an alga or cyanobacterium living together in such close cooperation that they function as a single being. The fungus provides structure and protection. The photosynthetic partner produces food from sunlight. Together, they survive in deserts, mountaintops, and Arctic tundra, places where life seems impossible. Some lichens are thousands of years old, growing just millimeters per century, patient witnesses to the passage of time. Pitcher plants lure, trap, and digest insects in liquid-filled chambers. In nutrient-poor soils, some plants have turned to hunting. Pitcher plants form deep, slippery wells filled with digestive enzymes. Insects attracted by sweet nectar and bright colors slip inside, unable to climb the smooth walls. Slowly they dissolve, providing the plant with nitrogen and other nutrients it can't get from the soil. Some pitcher plants even form small ecosystems inside their chambers, hosting mosquito larvae and bacteria that help break down prey. It's a strange, beautiful adaptation, a reminder that survival takes many forms, and even plants can be predators. Trees can live for thousands of years, witnessing empires rise and fall. Bristlecone pines, growing in the harsh, windswept mountains of California and Nevada, are among the oldest living things on Earth. Some have stood for over 5,000 years, their twisted, weathered trunks still clinging to life in thin soil and bitter cold. These ancient trees were already old when the pyramids were built. They've lived through every human empire, every war, every season, and yet they remain silent and enduring. Their rings hold records of past climates, droughts, and atmospheric changes, a living archive written in wood. To stand before such a tree is to feel time differently, to sense how brief a human life is and how patient the natural world can be. From underground networks to ancient trees, the land holds wonders that have shaped life for millions of years. Let these terrestrial stories settle gently as we move forward. No need to hold on. Let your attention float. The next fact will find you. Tardigrades can survive the vacuum of space. They're tiny, almost invisible to the naked eye, no bigger than a grain of sand. But tardigrades, also called water bears, are among the toughest creatures on Earth. In 2007, scientists launched them into orbit, exposing them to the vacuum of space, freezing temperatures, and intense radiation. When they returned, many were still alive. They can survive by entering a state called cryptobiosis, where they dry themselves out almost completely and shut down their metabolism. In this suspended state, they can endure extremes that would destroy nearly any other form of life. Tardigrades have existed for over 500 million years, outlasting dinosaurs, ice ages, and mass extinctions. They remind us that life, once it takes hold, is far more resilient than we ever imagined. Small, soft, and quietly indestructible, some bacteria thrive in boiling water at the bottom of the ocean. Deep beneath the waves, where sunlight never reaches, hydrothermal vents spew superheated water from cracks in the ocean floor. The water can reach temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. And yet, life exists there. Thermophilic bacteria, or heat-loving microbes, cluster around these vents, feeding not on sunlight, but on chemicals like hydrogen sulfide. They've evolved proteins and cell structures that remain stable at temperatures that would cook most other organisms instantly. These bacteria may resemble the first life forms on Earth, thriving in conditions similar to our planet's early, violent seas. And they hint at the possibility that life could exist in equally extreme environments elsewhere in the universe, in places we once thought too harsh to support anything living. Microbes live deep beneath the ice of Antarctica. Antarctica is one of the coldest, driest places on Earth. But even here, beneath glaciers miles thick, life persists. Subglacial lakes, hidden under ice for millions of years, contain microbial communities that have evolved in complete darkness, cut off from the surface world. These microbes survive on trace nutrients and chemical energy, living in near-freezing water under immense pressure. Some lakes have been isolated for so long that the organisms inside may have evolved into entirely new forms, found nowhere else on the planet. Studying these hidden ecosystems helps scientists understand how life might survive on icy moons like Europa or Enceladus, where vast oceans lie beneath frozen crusts. In the coldest, darkest corners of Earth, life waits, patient and enduring. Some organisms can survive in acid strong enough to dissolve metal. In volcanic hot springs and acidic mine drainage, where pH levels rival battery acid, most life forms would disintegrate within moments. But acidophiles, acid-loving microbes, have evolved to not just survive, but thrive in these corrosive environments. Their cell membranes are specially adapted to keep acid out, while maintaining a neutral interior. They use the chemical gradients between their surroundings and their insides to generate energy, turning what should be deadly into fuel for life. These extremophiles expand our understanding of what life can tolerate. They show us that the boundaries of habitability are far wider than we once believed. Wherever there's energy, wherever there's chemistry, life seems willing to try. From the vacuum of space to boiling vents and frozen lakes, life has proven its ability to adapt to the most extreme conditions Earth can offer. These survival stories continue. See how ocean's mysteries echo what comes next, the same patterns of resilience, the same dance of adaptation. Everything connects beneath the surface. Desert plants can survive years without rain. In the driest deserts on Earth, where years may pass between rainfalls, some plants have evolved remarkable strategies for survival. The resurrection plant, for example, can curl into a tight, brittle ball during drought, appearing completely dead. Its roots pull free from the soil, and the wind carries it across the sand. But when rain finally comes, even after months or years, the plant unfurls within hours. Green returns, leaves spread, life resumes as if it never stopped. These plants produce special proteins that protect their cells from drying damage, allowing them to wait in suspended animation until water returns. Other desert dwellers, like cacti, store water in thick stems and have evolved shallow but widespread root systems to capture even the briefest shower. Every adaptation is a testament to patience, to resilience, to the art of waiting for the right moment. Some snails can seal themselves inside their shells for years. When conditions become too dry or too harsh, certain land snails create a protective seal over the opening of their shell, made from dried mucus that hardens into a barrier. Behind this door, they enter a state of dormancy called estivation, slowing their metabolism to nearly nothing. In this sealed state, they can survive for years without food or water. Museum specimens, collected and stored in drawers for decades, have been known to revive when placed in water, emerging from their shells as if awakening from a long sleep. It's not death, but a pause, a biological hibernation that allows them to outlast drought, heat, or any challenge their environment presents. When the world becomes too much, they retreat inward and wait for kinder conditions. Certain fish can survive in water so salty it would kill most marine life. The Dead Sea, one of the saltiest bodies of water on Earth, was named for its apparent lifelessness. But even here, microbial life exists, and in slightly less extreme salt lakes around the world, specialized fish called pupfish have adapted to thrive in conditions that would be lethal to their ocean cousins. These small, hardy fish can tolerate salt concentrations several times higher than seawater. They've evolved special kidney functions and cell structures to manage the salt, preventing dehydration and maintaining internal balance. Some can even survive in water that's both extremely salty and nearly boiling hot. Pupfish populations are often isolated in single springs or lakes, evolving unique traits found nowhere else. They're living proof that boundaries, even seemingly absolute ones, are negotiable when life finds the right adaptations. Bacteria have been revived from ice over 100,000 years old. Deep in ancient glaciers and permafrost, scientists have discovered bacteria that have been frozen for over 100,000 years. When carefully thawed in laboratories, some of these microbes spring back to life, resuming metabolism as if no time had passed at all. These ancient bacteria offer glimpses into past climates and ecosystems. They've survived through ice ages, through millennia of darkness and cold, waiting in a state of near total suspension. Their DNA, their structures, their basic functions remain intact across spans of time difficult for us to comprehend. It raises profound questions about the nature of life and death, about dormancy and awakening. If an organism can pause for 100,000 years and continue, was it truly alive during that time? Or does life exist on a spectrum we're only beginning to understand? Some animals can survive being completely dehydrated. The brine shrimp, a tiny crustacean, produces cysts that can lose up to 99% of their water content and remain viable for years, even decades. These dried cysts can withstand extreme temperatures, radiation, and the vacuum of space. Add water, and within hours, they hatch into swimming larvae. Rotifers, microscopic animals found in moss and pond water, have similar abilities. When their environment dries up, they curl into tiny, dust-like particles called tons. In this state, they can survive being frozen, heated, or even exposed to toxic chemicals. Rehydrate them, and they spring back to active life. These creatures blur the line between living and non-living, between active and dormant. They show us that life doesn't always require constant motion or metabolism. Sometimes, survival means knowing when to stop and wait. Cockroaches can survive without their heads for weeks. It sounds like something from a horror film, but it's biology. A cockroach can live for weeks without its head because it doesn't rely on its brain to breathe. Instead, it breathes through small holes called spiracles, distributed along its body, and its nervous system is decentralized. Without a head, a cockroach can't eat or drink, so it eventually dies of starvation or dehydration, not from the loss of its brain. This decentralized design makes them incredibly resilient to injury and helps explain why they've survived virtually unchanged for over 300 million years. Cockroaches thrive in nearly every environment humans inhabit, adapting quickly to pesticides and changes in their surroundings. They're survivors in the truest sense, shaped by time and hardship into creatures that endure. Some worms can survive in extreme cold by producing antifreeze proteins. In the frozen soils of Antarctica and the Arctic, ice worms burrow through glaciers and snowpack, living their entire lives at temperatures that would freeze most organisms solid. They produce special antifreeze proteins that bind to ice crystals and prevent them from growing. These proteins work so efficiently that the worms can remain active in sub-zero conditions, feeding on algae and bacteria that grow in snow and ice. If temperatures rise even slightly above freezing, the worms become sluggish or die. They're adapted not just to survive the cold, but to require it. It's a reminder that extreme is relative. What seems harsh to one form of life may be home to another. The frozen edge of the world is not empty. It's alive with creatures perfectly suited to conditions we can barely imagine enduring. Certain fungi can survive and even thrive in nuclear radiation. In 1991, scientists discovered something remarkable growing on the walls of the destroyed reactor at Chernobyl. Black fungi were not just surviving in one of the most radioactive places on Earth, they were thriving. These fungi contain high levels of melanin, the same pigment that colors human skin. Somehow, they've learned to use melanin to convert radiation into chemical energy, similar to how plants use chlorophyll to convert sunlight. They're called radiotrophic fungi, and they actively grow toward radiation sources rather than away from them. This discovery has profound implications. It suggests that life can find energy in almost any form, even in what seems most deadly. And it raises the possibility that on distant planets or moons bathed in harsh radiation, similar organisms might exist, feeding on what we thought would destroy all life. Some bacteria can repair their DNA after massive radiation damage. Deinococcus radiogirans, nicknamed Conan the bacterium, can withstand radiation doses thousands of times higher than would be lethal to humans. When exposed to such radiation, its DNA shatters into hundreds of fragments. Most organisms would die instantly, but within hours, Deinococcus reassembles its genome perfectly, using redundant copies of its genetic material and sophisticated repair mechanisms. It's one of the most radiation-resistant organisms known to science, able to survive conditions found in nuclear reactors, space, and the driest deserts. Scientists study this bacterium to understand DNA repair and to explore possibilities for protecting astronauts on long space missions. In a single microscopic cell lies a blueprint for resilience that may one day help us survive environments far harsher than any on Earth. Penguins can fast for months while incubating eggs in Antarctica. During the Antarctic winter, when temperatures drop to -40 degrees Celsius and blizzards rage for weeks, emperor penguins face one of nature's most extreme challenges. Males incubate a single egg on their feet, tucked under a warm fold of skin, while females travel to the sea to feed. For over 2 months, these males stand in darkness and brutal cold without eating, huddled together for warmth, protecting their precious cargo. They can lose up to half their body weight during this time, surviving on stored fat reserves alone. When the females return and the chicks hatch, the males finally make the journey to open water to feed. It's a cycle of sacrifice and endurance, a testament to the lengths life will go to continue. In the harshest place on Earth, love and survival become one. From deserts to frozen wastelands, from radiation zones to the deepest cold, life persists through adaptation, patience, and remarkable resilience. Let these survival stories settle as we continue, still listening or drifting in and out. Both are perfect. No need to follow every word. Your mind can wander. Feel your shoulders dropping, your jaw unclenching. The next wonder waits with no effort needed from you. Some oceans glow blue at night when waves crash. Imagine walking along a dark beach and seeing the waves light up with an eerie blue glow. This phenomenon is real, and it's caused by tiny organisms called dinoflagellates, a type of bioluminescent plankton. When disturbed by movement, a crashing wave, or the swirl of your hand, they release a flash of cold light. It's not reflected moonlight or any external source. It's a chemical reaction happening inside millions of microscopic bodies. The same process that makes fireflies glow allows these tiny creatures to illuminate entire shorelines, turning the sea into a shimmering, living constellation. In places like Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico or certain beaches in the Maldives, this glow can light up the water for miles. No electricity, no magic, just biology. And in the darkness, the ocean whispers in light. Fireflies synchronize their flashing in perfect rhythm. On warm summer nights in certain forests of Southeast Asia and the Smoky Mountains, thousands of fireflies gather and begin to blink. At first, the flashes seem random, scattered points of light in the darkness. But gradually, they begin to sync, pulsing together in waves of coordinated brilliance. Each firefly adjusts its timing based on the flashes it sees around it, creating a spontaneous, living light show without any leader or central control. It's an emergent behavior where simple rules followed by individuals create breathtaking collective patterns. Scientists still study how and why this synchronization happens. It may help males and females find each other more easily, or it may simply be a side effect of their communication system. Whatever the reason, it transforms the forest into a cathedral of blinking light. Deep-sea creatures use light to hunt in total darkness. In the deepest parts of the ocean, where sunlight never reaches, many creatures have evolved their own lights. The anglerfish dangles a glowing lure in front of its mouth, a beacon in the blackness that attracts curious prey. When something swims close to investigate, the anglerfish strikes. Other fish use rows of bioluminescent organs along their bodies to confuse predators or communicate with potential mates. Some squid can control the intensity and pattern of their glow, creating living light shows in the deep. In a world without sun, light becomes a language, a weapon, and a tool for survival. This cold light, produced through chemical reactions, wastes almost no energy as heat. It's one of the most efficient forms of illumination in nature, perfected over millions of years in the crushing darkness of the abyss. Certain fungi glow softly in the forest at night. In humid forests around the world, some mushrooms and fungi produce their own gentle green glow. This bioluminescence is faint, visible only in complete darkness, but it's real. The ghost fungus of Australia, the jack-o'-lantern mushroom of North America, and honey fungus in parts of Europe all emit soft, eerie light. Scientists believe this glow may attract insects that help spread fungal spores, or it may simply be a byproduct of the fungi's metabolism. The exact purpose remains a mystery, but the effect is haunting, transforming the forest floor into a dim, glowing landscape like something from a fairy tale. Walking through such a forest at night, you might see patches of light scattered among the leaves and logs, glowing without heat, without sound, just quiet luminescence, waiting in the dark. The Aurora Borealis is caused by solar wind colliding with Earth's atmosphere. High in the northern skies, curtains of green, purple, and red light dance across the darkness. This is the Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights, one of nature's most spectacular displays. It happens when charged particles from the sun, carried by solar wind, collide with gases in Earth's upper atmosphere. Oxygen produces green and red light, while nitrogen creates blue and purple hues. The Earth's magnetic field guides these particles toward the poles, which is why auroras are most visible in high-latitude regions like Iceland, Norway, and northern Canada. Indigenous peoples have told stories about these lights for thousands of years, seeing in them the spirits of ancestors, celestial dances, or messages from the gods. Today we understand the physics, but the beauty remains timeless. a bridge between Earth and the Sun painted across the night sky. Some jellyfish glow when touched or threatened. Many jellyfish species are bioluminescent, producing soft glows when disturbed or stressed. This light may startle predators, confuse attackers, or attract even larger predators to the area, creating a dangerous distraction that allows the jellyfish to escape. The crystal jelly, a common species found along the Pacific coast, glows with a beautiful green light, thanks to a protein called green fluorescent protein, or GFP. Scientists have isolated and adapted this protein for use in medical research, using it to track genes, proteins, and cellular processes in living organisms. A simple jellyfish drifting in the sea has given us one of the most important tools in modern biology. Its glow, once just a defense mechanism, now illuminates the hidden workings of life itself in laboratories around the world. Glowworms in caves create starry ceilings. In certain caves in New Zealand and Australia, the ceilings come alive with thousands of tiny blue-green lights. These are glowworms, actually the larvae of fungus gnats, hanging from silk threads they've spun. Each larva produces bioluminescent light from its tail to attract flying insects. The insects, drawn to what looks like starlight, fly upward and become tangled in sticky droplets along the silk threads. The glowworm then reels in its catch and feeds. It's a patient, quiet form of hunting, conducted entirely in darkness. For visitors floating through these caves on silent boats, the ceiling becomes a mirror of the night sky, a constellation of living lights glowing just overhead. It's one of the most magical sights in nature, a hidden galaxy made not of stars, but of hungry larvae waiting in the dark. Some squid can control patterns of light across their bodies. The Hawaiian bobtail squid has a special relationship with bioluminescent bacteria. During the day, the squid buries itself in sand, but at night it emerges to hunt, and its underside glows softly. This glow matches the moonlight filtering down from above, making the squid nearly invisible to predators looking up from below. The squid doesn't produce this light itself. Instead, it cultivates colonies of light-producing bacteria in a special organ in its body. The squid provides food and shelter, and the bacteria provide camouflage. It's a partnership honed over millions of years, a quiet collaboration beneath the waves. Other squid species can create flashing patterns across their skin, using light organs called photophores to communicate, confuse, or attract. Their bodies become living displays, pulsing with light in the depths. Lightning bugs use their glow to find mates. Fireflies, also called lightning bugs, carry their own tiny lanterns. Males fly through the air on summer evenings, flashing specific patterns. Each species has its own rhythm, its own code. Females, perched in grass or on leaves, watch these displays and respond with their own timed flashes if interested. It's a conversation in light, a courtship conducted without sound. The males flash, the females reply, and if the timing matches, a connection is made. Some species are tricksters. Certain females can mimic the flash patterns of other species, luring in males not for mating, but to eat them. But most firefly flashes are honest signals, beacons in the night declaring, "I am here, this is who I am, and I'm looking for you." And in gardens and fields across the world, their tiny lights continue to blink, patient and persistent. Certain bacteria in the ocean glow blue when disturbed. Bioluminescent bacteria live not just in the bodies of squid or fish, but freely in the ocean as well. When waves crash, when boats move through water, or when predators chase prey, these bacteria light up, creating trails and flashes of blue-green light. This Milky Seas effect has been reported by sailors for centuries, describing vast stretches of glowing ocean visible from ships at night. It's caused by massive blooms of bioluminescent bacteria, sometimes covering thousands of square miles, turning the sea into a glowing, ethereal landscape. The light is faint individually, but together, billions of bacteria create a glow visible even from space. It's a reminder that even the smallest organisms, working together, can light up the world. From glowing seas to dancing auroras, from firefly conversations to deep-sea lanterns, light in nature takes forms both beautiful and mysterious. These wonders continue to unfold. Some flowers reflect ultraviolet patterns invisible to human eyes. When you look at a flower, you see color, perhaps yellow or white or red. But to a bee, that same flower looks completely different. Many flowers reflect ultraviolet light in patterns we cannot see, creating landing strips, bullseyes, and glowing guides that point directly to the nectar within. These UV patterns evolved specifically to attract pollinators with ultraviolet vision. The flower offers a reward, and in exchange, the insect carries pollen from bloom to bloom. It's a partnership written in wavelengths beyond our perception, a hidden language of light spoken between plants and their visitors. The world around you is richer than you can see. There are colors and patterns humming just outside your range, visible only to those who've evolved to read them. The garden is full of secrets, glowing quietly in the ultraviolet. Mantis shrimp can see colors humans cannot imagine. Your eyes have 3 types of color receptors. Dogs have 2, but the mantis shrimp has 16. They can see ultraviolet, visible, and polarized light in combinations we don't have words for. Their world is painted in dimensions of color that exist beyond human comprehension. Scientists are still trying to understand what all this visual information is used for. Mantis shrimp use their incredible vision to identify prey, communicate with each other, and navigate complex coral reef environments. Their eyes can move independently, scanning the world with a complexity we're only beginning to appreciate. These small, colorful creatures live in a visual universe far more elaborate than our own. What they see when they look at the reef, at each other, at the shifting water, remains largely a mystery. A rainbow to them might contain shades we'll never know. Shooting stars are not stars at all, but burning dust. When you see a streak of light flash across the night sky, what you're watching is not a star, but a tiny piece of cosmic debris, often no larger than a grain of sand. As it enters Earth's atmosphere at tremendous speed, friction heats it to thousands of degrees, causing it to glow and vaporize. Most of these particles come from comets that passed through our solar system long ago, leaving trails of dust in their wake. When Earth's orbit intersects these trails, we experience meteor showers, periods when dozens or even hundreds of shooting stars can be seen in a single night. Each streak of light is a tiny messenger from space, a fragment of the cosmos, touching our atmosphere for just a moment before disappearing forever. And in that brief flash, we're reminded that Earth moves through a river of ancient dust, always falling, always burning, always glowing overhead. Some fish have transparent heads. Deep in the ocean, where sunlight fades to twilight, the barrel-eye fish drifts with a remarkable adaptation. Its head is transparent, a dome of clear tissue that allows you to see directly into its skull. Inside, its tubular eyes point upward, watching for the silhouettes of prey passing overhead. These eyes can rotate within the transparent dome, allowing the fish to look forward when it's time to strike. The see-through head protects the delicate eyes while maintaining a wide field of vision. It's an elegant solution to the challenges of hunting in the dim, shadowy waters of the deep. When first discovered, scientists could barely believe such a creature existed. But the barrel eye is real, drifting through the depths with its strange, ghostly skull, a reminder that evolution creates forms stranger than fiction. Rainbows are circles, but we only see half. When sunlight passes through raindrops, it bends and separates into its component colors, creating the arc of a rainbow. But rainbows are not actually arcs, they're full circles. We only see the top half because the ground blocks our view of the bottom. From an airplane or a mountaintop, under the right conditions, you can sometimes see a complete circular rainbow, a halo of color hanging in the air. At the center of this circle, from your perspective, would be the shadow of your own head, a phenomenon called a glory. Every rainbow is centered on the line between the sun and your eyes, which means the rainbow you see is unique to your position. Someone standing beside you sees a different rainbow, shifted slightly. Each person's rainbow is their own, painted by light and water just for them. Certain moths drink the tears of sleeping animals. In the jungles of Southeast Asia and South America, some moths have evolved an unusual way to get moisture and nutrients. At night, they land near the eyes of sleeping birds, deer, or even crocodiles, and use their proboscis to gently sip tears from the corners of closed eyelids. The animals rarely wake. The touch is so light, so careful, that it doesn't disturb them. The moth gets salt, protein, and moisture, resources that are hard to find in other ways. It's a strange, delicate interaction, moths harvesting sorrow, or at least its salty residue, while the world sleeps. Nature's strategies for survival are endlessly inventive. Even tears, symbols of emotion and release, become resources in the quiet economy of the forest night. Ice crystals in the atmosphere create halos around the sun and moon. On cold, clear nights or days, you might notice a ring of light surrounding the sun or moon. These halos form when light passes through hexagonal ice crystals suspended high in the atmosphere. The crystals bend the light at precise angles, creating circles, arcs, and sometimes colorful patterns. These atmospheric optics have been observed and recorded for thousands of years, often interpreted as omens or messages. Today we understand the physics, but the effect remains beautiful, a crown of light painted by ice and geometry across the sky. Sometimes, in addition to the halo, you might see bright spots called sundogs or parhelia appearing on either side of the sun. They're fragments of a larger optical phenomenon, pieces of the same crystalline dance happening overhead, mostly unseen. Some caves contain crystals larger than trees. Deep beneath the Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico lies the Cave of Crystals, a chamber filled with selenite crystals so massive they dwarf human visitors. Some of these crystals are over 30 feet long and weigh several tons, translucent pillars of mineral formed slowly over hundreds of thousands of years. The cave is incredibly hot and humid, nearly unbearable for humans, but perfect for crystal growth. For millennia, mineral-rich water flowed through the chamber, depositing layer after microscopic layer of selenite. The result is one of the most spectacular geological formations ever discovered. These crystals are not alive, yet they grew, slowly assembling themselves atom by atom in the dark. They're a reminder that Earth itself is constantly creating, shaping, building. Even in places where no living thing could survive, beauty accumulates, patient and silent, waiting to be found. Certain birds can navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. Every year, birds travel thousands of miles across continents and oceans, returning with remarkable precision to the same nesting sites. One of the ways they find their way is by sensing Earth's magnetic field. Some birds have tiny crystals of magnetite in their beaks, acting like internal compasses. Others may use specialized proteins in their eyes that allow them to literally see magnetic fields as patterns or shades overlaid on their vision. It's a sense humans don't possess, a hidden layer of reality that guides migrations across the globe. Birds don't need maps or GPS. They carry navigation systems evolved over millions of years, tuned to the invisible forces that wrap around our planet. And twice a year, they follow those forces home. Some animals can see polarized light. Light waves vibrate in all directions as they travel, but when light reflects off water, glass, or other surfaces, it becomes polarized, vibrating primarily in one plane. Many animals, including bees, mantis shrimp, octopuses, and some birds, can detect this polarization. For them, polarized light creates patterns in the sky and on water surfaces that we cannot see. Bees use polarization patterns to navigate even on cloudy days when the sun is hidden. Octopuses may use it to see transparent prey or communicate without changing their skin color. It's another dimension of light, another layer of information flowing through the world, invisible to us, but essential to countless other creatures navigating their lives. Mirages are real optical phenomena, not hallucinations. When you see water shimmering on a hot road ahead, you're not imagining it. You're seeing a real optical effect caused by layers of air at different temperatures. Hot air near the ground bends light from the sky, creating the illusion of a reflective surface that looks like water. Desert mirages work the same way, showing oases or lakes that aren't there. But the light itself is real. Your eyes are accurately reporting what they see. It's the interpretation, the assumption that reflection means water, that creates the illusion. Even in deception, nature follows rules. The mirage is not a lie, but a truth bent by heat, a reminder that light, like water, flows and bends, and the world is not always as it first appears. Some jellyfish are nearly invisible in water. The glass jellyfish and other translucent species drift through the ocean almost unseen. Their bodies are made mostly of water, with such minimal structure that they become nearly transparent. Light passes through them with barely a distortion, making them invisible to both predators and prey. Only when they catch the light at certain angles do they shimmer into view, ghostly and fragile. They pulse through the depths like living water, shaped into form but barely distinct from their surroundings. To swim among them is to move through a sea full of hidden life. These creatures remind us that visibility is not required for existence. Much of life remains unseen, present but transparent, drifting quietly through the world. The color blue is rare in nature because it's hard to make. Blue flowers, blue birds, blue butterflies, they all catch the eye precisely because blue is so uncommon. Most organisms struggle to produce true blue pigments. Instead, they use structural color, microscopic patterns that bend and reflect light to create the appearance of blue. A blue jay's feathers contain no blue pigment. If you crush one, the blue disappears, leaving only brown. The blue you see is light dancing through layers of keratin, an optical illusion created by structure, not chemistry. It's physics pretending to be color. This makes every natural blue precious, a feat of engineering rather than simple pigmentation. The sky, the sea, the wings of a morpho butterfly, each blue is a small miracle, light transformed by shape into the rarest hue. From invisible UV patterns to transparent creatures, from magnetic navigation to structural color, the world is filled with wonders beyond what we can readily perceive. As we reach the hour mark, let these mysteries settle softly. An hour has passed, or maybe you've just arrived. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be. Notice your shoulders dropping, your breathing slowing. There's no right way to listen. Your body knows what it needs. Let these next wonders guide you deeper into rest. A single drop of pond water contains an entire world. If you place a drop of pond water under a microscope, what appears empty to your eyes suddenly teems with life. Tiny organisms swim, hunt, feed, and divide, each one a complete living being with its own strategies for survival. There are paramecia, slipper-shaped cells covered in beating hairs that propel them through the water. Rotifers, barely visible creatures with crowns of spinning cilia that sweep food into their mouths. Hydras, miniature relatives of jellyfish, extending their tentacles to capture even smaller prey. This microscopic world has existed for billions of years, mostly unseen by larger creatures like us. But it's always there, beneath the surface, a hidden universe in every puddle, every lake, every drop. Your body replaces billions of cells every day. Right now, as you rest, your body is quietly rebuilding itself. Billions of cells die each day, and billions more are created to replace them. Your skin cells renew every few weeks. Red blood cells are replaced every few months. Even bone cells gradually turn over. In a very real sense, you are not the same physical being you were a year ago. Most of your cells have been replaced, renewed, rebuilt. What remains constant is the pattern, the information, the continuous thread of identity running through constant change. You are not a fixed thing, but a process, a pattern that maintains itself through endless cycles of death and renewal. Your body knows how to build itself again and again, quietly and without your conscious effort. Bacteria can communicate with each other using chemical signals. For a long time, bacteria were thought to be solitary, simple organisms. But we now know they can communicate, coordinate, and make collective decisions. They release and detect chemical signals in a process called quorum sensing, allowing them to sense how many of their kind are nearby. When enough bacteria gather and the signal reaches a certain threshold, they change their behavior. Some become more aggressive, forming biofilms or releasing toxins. Others become bioluminescent, glowing only when their population is large enough to create visible light together. It's a simple form of social behavior, primitive but effective. Even the smallest life forms, it seems, have ways of speaking to each other, of knowing when they're alone and when they're part of something larger. Viruses are not technically alive, yet they evolve. A virus exists in a strange space between living and non-living. It has genetic material, DNA or RNA, wrapped in a protein shell. But it cannot reproduce on its own, cannot metabolize food, cannot respond to its environment. By most definitions, it is not alive. Yet viruses evolve, change, adapt, and spread. They hijack living cells, using their machinery to make copies of themselves. When those copies contain mutations, natural selection acts on them just as it does on any other organism. Successful variants spread, unsuccessful ones disappear. So viruses occupy a twilight zone, not quite alive, but not entirely inert either. They remind us that the boundary between life and non-life may be less clear than we imagine, a spectrum rather than a line. Mitochondria in your cells were once independent bacteria. Inside nearly every cell in your body are small structures called mitochondria. They generate the energy your cells need to function. But mitochondria are strange. They have their own DNA separate from yours, and they reproduce independently inside your cells. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, mitochondria were free-living bacteria. At some point, they were engulfed by larger cells and, instead of being digested, formed a partnership. The host cell provided protection and nutrients. The bacteria provided energy. Over time, this partnership became permanent. The bacteria could no longer survive outside, and the host cells became dependent on the energy they provided. Now, mitochondria are essential parts of complex life, ancient bacteria still living inside you, powering every thought, every breath, every movement. A teaspoon of soil contains more organisms than there are people on Earth. The ground beneath your feet is alive in ways most people never consider. A single teaspoon of healthy soil can contain billions of bacteria, meters of fungal filaments, thousands of protozoa, and countless other microscopic organisms, all working together. These communities break down organic matter, cycle nutrients, filter water, and support the roots of every plant that grows. Without this hidden world, forests would not exist. Crops would not grow. The entire terrestrial food web would collapse. Soil is not dirt. It's a living system, one of the most complex and diverse ecosystems on Earth. And most of it exists at a scale we cannot see, working quietly beneath every step we take. Your DNA, if stretched out, would reach from Earth to the Sun and back multiple times. Inside the nucleus of each of your cells lies about 6 feet of DNA, coiled and folded so tightly it fits into a space smaller than you can see. You have trillions of cells, and if you could take all that DNA and stretch it end to end, it would span roughly 67 billion miles. That's enough to travel from Earth to the Sun and back over 300 times. All of this microscopic thread carries the instructions for building and maintaining you, written in a chemical code 4 billion years in the making. Every cell carries a complete copy of this instruction manual, though each cell only reads the pages relevant to its job. A liver cell reads different sections than a brain cell, but both contain the entire library. You are, in a very real sense, made of information. White blood cells patrol your body like a microscopic immune army. Right now, billions of white blood cells are moving through your bloodstream and tissues, searching for invaders. They squeeze through vessel walls, crawl through spaces between cells, and constantly sample their surroundings for signs of bacteria, viruses, or damaged cells. When they detect a threat, some white blood cells engulf and destroy it directly. Others send chemical signals to recruit reinforcements. Some remember the invaders they've encountered before, creating immunity that can last a lifetime. They work constantly, silently, keeping you alive without your awareness. This microscopic army never sleeps. It's always on patrol, always ready, a defense system more sophisticated than any human invention, built into every body from birth. Neurons in your brain form more connections than there are stars in the Milky Way. Each neuron in your brain can connect with thousands of other neurons, forming a network of staggering complexity. With roughly 86 billion neurons and trillions of connections between them. Your brain contains more synapses than there are stars in our galaxy. These connections are not fixed. They strengthen with use, weaken with neglect, and can form new pathways throughout your life. Every thought, every memory, every skill you learn changes the physical structure of this network. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on your experiences. Right now, as you rest, your neurons are still firing, forming connections, consolidating memories, and maintaining the vast web that creates your mind. Even in sleep, the network hums with quiet activity. Your gut contains its own nervous system, with more neurons than your spinal cord. Your digestive system has its own brain, a network of over 100 million neurons lining your gut. This enteric nervous system can function independently of your brain, controlling digestion, sensing nutrients, and responding to threats without waiting for signals from above. This gut brain communicates constantly with your head brain through the vagus nerve, sending signals about hunger, fullness, and even influencing your mood and emotions. Scientists are discovering that gut bacteria can affect this communication, potentially influencing everything from anxiety to decision-making. Your belly truly has a mind of its own, ancient and autonomous, working continuously to extract energy from food and communicate with the rest of your body. Cells commit suicide to protect the organism. Your cells have a built-in self-destruct mechanism called apoptosis, programmed cell death. When a cell becomes damaged, infected, or is simply no longer needed, it can trigger its own orderly shutdown. The cell shrinks, breaks apart into neat packages, and is quietly recycled by neighboring cells. This isn't failure, it's sacrifice. During development, apoptosis sculpts your body, removing the webbing between your fingers before birth and eliminating excess neurons to refine brain circuits. Throughout life, it prevents damaged cells from becoming cancerous. Billions of your cells die this way every day, each one making the decision to end itself for the good of the whole. It's cooperation at the deepest level, individual cells giving up their existence so that you can continue. Proteins fold into precise shapes in billionths of a second. Proteins are the workhorses of your cells, performing nearly every function necessary for life. But for a protein to work, it must fold into exactly the right three-dimensional shape. A chain of amino acids released from a ribosome spontaneously twists and bends into its final form in less than a second. This folding follows the laws of physics and chemistry, guided by the interactions between different parts of the chain. The process is so fast and complex that scientists still struggle to predict exactly how any given protein will fold. When proteins misfold, diseases can result. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and many other conditions involve proteins that are folded incorrectly, forming clumps and tangles that interfere with normal cell function. The difference between health and illness can come down to the shape of a single molecule. Your body contains more bacterial cells than human cells. You are not a single organism, but a walking ecosystem. For every human cell in your body, there's roughly one bacterial cell, and they're essential to your survival. These trillions of microbes, collectively called your microbiome, help digest food, produce vitamins, train your immune system, and even influence your brain chemistry. Your microbiome begins forming at birth and changes throughout your life based on diet, environment, and health. Each person's microbiome is unique, like a fingerprint made of living organisms. Some bacteria are helpful, some neutral, and others harmful, but together they form a community that shapes your health in profound ways. You are never truly alone. You carry entire civilizations within you, microscopic partners that have co-evolved with humanity for millions of years. Stem cells can become almost any type of cell in your body. Stem cells are the body's blank slates, cells that haven't yet decided what they want to be when they grow up. In early development, stem cells give rise to every tissue and organ in your body, dividing and differentiating into skin, muscle, bone, brain, and everything else. Even in adults, some stem cells remain, tucked away in bone marrow, skin, and other tissues, ready to create new cells when needed. They replace dead cells, repair damage, and maintain your body's constant renewal. Scientists are learning to guide stem cells, coaxing them to become specific cell types for treating diseases and injuries. These cells hold the potential to rebuild damaged organs, cure diseases, and perhaps one day extend human life far beyond its current limits. Cellular respiration turns food into energy through elegant chemistry. Every moment, your cells are performing a chemical dance called cellular respiration. Glucose from your food combines with oxygen in a series of carefully controlled reactions, releasing energy that's captured in molecules of ATP, the universal energy currency of life. This process happens in your mitochondria, those ancient bacteria living inside your cells. They break down fuel and create energy with remarkable efficiency, all without flames, without heat. Just patient chemistry unfolding in microscopic compartments. The energy you feel, the warmth of your body, the ability of your muscles to move and your brain to think, all of it comes from this quiet, continuous transformation happening trillions of times per second across your entire body. Your cells replace their contents every few weeks, yet you remain you. The molecules that make up your cells, proteins, lipids, and other structures are constantly being broken down and rebuilt. Most cellular components last only days or weeks before they're recycled and replaced with new copies. This means the physical substance of your body is in continuous flux. The atoms that compose you today will mostly be gone in a few months, replaced by new atoms from the food you eat and the air you breathe. Yet your identity persists through all this change. You are not the matter itself, but the pattern, the information, the continuous process of self-renewal. Like a river that's never the same water twice, but remains recognizably a river, you flow through time, constantly becoming, never fixed. From DNA stretching to the stars, to rivers of self-renewal, life at the microscopic scale reveals complexity and cooperation beyond what we can easily imagine. These hidden wonders connect to something larger. Each wonder adds another thread to Earth's tapestry, life finding ways, systems self-organizing, everything connected in ways we're only beginning to see. Earth's magnetic field protects you from deadly solar radiation. Surrounding our planet is an invisible shield, a magnetic field generated by swirling molten iron deep within Earth's core. This field extends thousands of miles into space, deflecting most of the solar wind, a constant stream of charged particles flowing from the sun. Without this protection, that radiation would strip away our atmosphere and bombard the surface, making complex life as we know it nearly impossible. The magnetic field guides these particles toward the poles, where they collide with atmospheric gases and create the northern and southern lights. You live safely on the surface because of forces generated at the center of the planet, a shield you never see, but that surrounds you always, quietly turning away the violence of space. The moon's gravity creates tides that shaped the evolution of life. Twice each day, the oceans rise and fall in response to the moon's gravitational pull. These tides create unique coastal zones, areas that are sometimes underwater and sometimes exposed to air. Life in these tidal zones must adapt to both worlds, and many scientists believe this environment may have been crucial to life's transition from sea to land. The moon also stabilizes Earth's axial tilt, keeping our climate relatively steady over millions of years. Without the moon, Earth might wobble chaotically, causing extreme climate swings that would make the evolution of complex life far more difficult. So the moon is not just a beautiful presence in the night sky, it's a partner, a stabilizer, a force that helps shape the very possibility of your existence. Earth's atmosphere is precisely balanced to support life. The air you breathe is about 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and small amounts of other gases. This balance didn't happen by chance. It's the result of billions of years of interaction between life and the planet's atmosphere. Oxygen, essential for animals, was originally a poison released by ancient bacteria. Over time, life adapted to use it, and eventually, oxygen-breathing organisms came to dominate. Plants continue to replenish it through photosynthesis, while animals and decomposers consume it, creating a cycle that's remained relatively stable for hundreds of millions of years. This atmospheric composition is rare, perhaps unique in the solar system. It's a signature of a living planet, an atmosphere that breathes, maintained by the collective action of countless organisms. Plate tectonics recycle Earth's crust and regulate climate over eons. The ground beneath you feels solid, permanent, but Earth's crust is broken into massive plates that float on the molten mantle below. These plates move slowly, just inches per year, colliding, sliding past each other and pulling apart. This movement creates mountains, opens ocean basins, and triggers earthquakes and volcanoes. But it also plays a crucial role in regulating Earth's climate. Volcanic activity releases carbon dioxide, while weathering of rocks and formation of new crust removes it from the atmosphere. This cycle helps keep Earth's temperature within a range suitable for life. Without plate tectonics, Earth might have become too hot or too cold long ago. The restless shifting of continents, destructive as it sometimes seems, is part of the planet's long-term life support system. The water cycle connects every ocean, cloud, river, and living thing. Water evaporates from oceans, rises as vapor, condenses into clouds, and falls as rain. It flows through rivers back to the sea, completing a cycle that's been running for billions of years. But this isn't just a simple loop. Water passes through plants, animals, soil, and rocks, carrying nutrients and energy, connecting every ecosystem on the planet. The water in your body has been through this cycle countless times. The same molecules might have fallen as rain on ancient forests, flowed through dinosaur bloodstreams, frozen in glaciers, and drifted as clouds over distant oceans. Water connects you to every place and every time in Earth's history. Earth is a closed system for matter, but an open system for energy. Water circulates endlessly, but almost none enters or leaves the planet. You share your water with everything that's ever lived. Earth sits in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold. Our planet orbits the Sun at just the right distance. Closer, and water would boil away. Further, and it would freeze solid. This narrow band where liquid water can exist on the surface is called the habitable zone, or the Goldilocks zone. But distance from the Sun isn't the only factor. Earth's size, its atmosphere, its magnetic field, and the presence of plate tectonics all contribute to maintaining conditions suitable for life. Many factors had to align perfectly, and they did, allowing a blue planet to bloom with life in the darkness of space. You live on a world that is, by all measures, extraordinarily fortunate. A planet positioned just right, with just the right size, just the right moon, just the right history to allow you to exist. Earth's rotation creates day and night, shaping the rhythms of life. Our planet spins once every 24 hours, turning its face toward and away from the Sun. This rotation creates the cycle of day and night that almost all life on Earth has adapted to. Plants open their leaves in sunlight and close them in darkness. Animals time their activity to avoid predators or find food. Your own body follows circadian rhythms tuned to this 24-hour cycle. Long ago, Earth spun faster and days were shorter. The Moon's gravitational pull has gradually slowed our rotation over billions of years, lengthening each day by tiny fractions. In the distant past, days might have been only 18 hours long. In the distant future, they'll be even longer. Time itself, as you experience it, is shaped by the spin of the world beneath you. Day and night are not just light and darkness. They're the heartbeat of the planet, the pulse that all life follows. The Moon is slowly drifting away from Earth. Each year, the Moon moves about 1.5 inches farther from Earth. It's an almost imperceptible change, but over millions of years, it adds up. This gradual separation happens because of tidal interactions between Earth and the Moon. As Earth's rotation slows, angular momentum is transferred to the Moon's orbit, pushing it outward. Billions of years from now, the Moon will be much farther away, appearing smaller in the sky. Tides will be weaker. Earth's axial tilt might become less stable, but for now, and for the foreseeable future, the Moon remains close enough to light your nights and stabilize your world. Nothing in the cosmos is truly permanent. Even the partnership between Earth and Moon, ancient and essential as it is, slowly changes with time. Everything is moving, shifting, evolving on scales too vast for human lifetimes to perceive. From protective magnetic shields to the slow drift of the Moon, Earth exists in a delicate balance of cosmic forces, each one essential to the continuation of life. As we enter the final third of our journey, let these planetary rhythms guide you deeper. Still listening or drifting in and out, both are perfect. Your body knows what it needs. Trust the process. Feel how heavy your eyelids have become. Let these final wonders guide you deeper into rest. The water you drink has been cycling through Earth for over 4 billion years. Every drop of water on Earth today has been here since shortly after the planet formed. It's cycled through clouds, oceans, rivers, ice caps, and countless living things. The water in your glass might have fallen as rain on Cleopatra's Egypt, frozen in ancient glaciers, or flowed through the roots of the first trees. Paris molecules break apart and recombine during some chemical reactions, but the vast majority of Earth's water remains intact, moving endlessly through the hydrological cycle. When you take a sip, you're drinking from an ocean that's billions of years old, filtered and purified by the planet's natural systems over and over again. Earth gained most of its water early in its history, possibly from comets and asteroids that bombarded the young planet. Since then, almost no water has entered or left. We live on a wet world, and that water, ancient and recycled, connects every living thing across all of time. You are made mostly of water, and that water is older than mountains, older than life itself. It passed through dinosaurs, through forests, through oceans that no longer exist. Every cell in your body is filled with history, with molecules that have witnessed the entire story of this planet. When you sweat, when you cry, when you breathe out moisture into the air, you're returning water to the cycle, sending it onward to the next stage of its endless journey. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is truly lost. It all continues, flowing forward through time. Earth's position in the Milky Way galaxy is remarkably safe. Our solar system orbits the center of the Milky Way galaxy once every 230 million years, traveling at about 515,000 miles per hour through space. But we're not in a random location. We orbit in what's sometimes called the galactic habitable zone, far enough from the chaotic galactic center to avoid intense radiation and gravitational disruptions. The central regions of galaxies are crowded with stars, black holes, and violent events like supernovae. In those regions, planets would be bathed in deadly radiation, or their orbits would be disturbed by passing stars. But Earth orbits in a quieter, more stable region where stars are spaced farther apart and catastrophic events are rare. We also orbit at roughly the same speed as the spiral arms of the galaxy, the dense regions where new stars form. This means we spend most of our time between the arms, avoiding the increased radiation and gravitational disturbances found within them. It's an extraordinarily fortunate position. The galaxy itself is just one of hundreds of billions, but Earth's specific location within it, combined with our distance from the Sun, our planet's size, its magnetic field, its moon, and countless other factors, creates a rare sanctuary for life. You live not just on a fortunate planet, but in a fortunate place within the galaxy, orbiting in a zone of relative peace and stability. The universe is vast and often violent, but here, in this small corner, life has had billions of years to grow, adapt, and flourish. The Sun provides more energy to Earth in 1 hour than humanity uses in an entire year. Every moment, the Sun pours energy onto Earth in the form of light and heat. The amount of solar energy reaching our planet's surface in just 1 hour is enough to power all of human civilization for a year, if we could capture and store it perfectly. This energy drives everything. It warms the oceans and atmosphere, creating weather patterns and ocean currents. It powers photosynthesis, allowing plants to grow and form the base of nearly every food chain. It evaporates water, lifting it into the sky to fall again as rain. The Sun is the engine that makes Earth come alive. Most of the energy we use today, even fossil fuels, is actually ancient sunlight captured by plants millions of years ago and stored underground. When you burn coal or oil, you're releasing energy that fell as sunlight long before humans existed, preserved in chemical form deep beneath the surface. The Sun itself is a massive nuclear reactor, fusing hydrogen into helium in its core and releasing tremendous energy in the process. It's been doing this for about 4.6 billion years, and it will continue for about 5 billion more. For most of Earth's history, and for the foreseeable future, the Sun remains steady, a reliable source of warmth and light. Without the Sun, Earth would be a frozen, lifeless rock drifting through space. Every breath you take, every movement you make, every thought you think is powered ultimately by the light of that distant star. You are, in a very real sense, made of sunlight transformed into matter, animated by the energy that falls constantly from the sky. If the sun were slightly larger or smaller, hotter or cooler, Earth might not be habitable. But it's just right, a medium-sized star burning at a steady rate, neither too fierce nor too dim. We orbit a calm, predictable sun in a safe part of the galaxy, on a planet perfectly positioned to receive its light. Every sunrise is a reminder of this partnership, this ancient relationship between a planet and its star. The light that warms your face in the morning began its journey from the sun's core millions of years ago, working its way outward through dense plasma before finally escaping into space and crossing the void to reach you. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second, and it takes about 8 minutes for sunlight to reach Earth. So when you watch a sunrise, you're seeing the sun as it was 8 minutes ago. You're looking back in time, watching light that began its journey before you woke, before you took your first breath of the day. The sun will eventually die, billions of years from now. It will swell into a red giant, possibly consuming the inner planets, before shedding its outer layers and collapsing into a white dwarf. But that ending is so far in the future that entire new forms of life might evolve and vanish before it happens. For now, the sun shines steadily, as it has since before life began on Earth. It rose over the first single-celled organisms, over the first forests, over the dinosaurs, and over the rise of humanity. It will rise tomorrow, and the day after, and for billions of days to come. In the vastness of space, stars are born and die constantly. Galaxies collide, black holes consume matter. But here, in our small corner, the sun remains constant, a beacon of stability in a changing cosmos, and Earth spins peacefully in its light. Earth's seasons exist because the planet tilts on its axis. Earth doesn't orbit the sun upright. Its axis tilts at about 23.5 degrees, and this tilt creates the seasons. When the northern hemisphere tilts toward the sun, it experiences summer, receiving more direct sunlight and longer days. At the same time, the southern hemisphere tilts away, experiencing winter. 6 months later, Earth has moved to the opposite side of its orbit, and the hemispheres swap seasons. This tilt is believed to have been caused by a massive collision early in Earth's history, possibly the same impact that created the Moon. That ancient catastrophe gave us the cycle of seasons. Without this tilt, Earth would have no seasons. The equator would be perpetually hot, the poles perpetually cold, and temperate zones would be narrow bands. Much of the planet would be less hospitable to life. But the tilt creates variety, change, rhythms that life has adapted to and flourished within. Seasons affect migration, hibernation, reproduction, and growth. They create diversity in ecosystems, allowing different species to thrive at different times of year. The cycle of spring growth, summer abundance, autumn harvest, and winter rest shapes not just nature, but human culture and psychology. You live on a tilted world, and that tilt gives you spring blossoms and autumn leaves, long summer days and quiet winter nights. The rhythm of the year is written into the angle at which Earth spins, a legacy of violence transformed into beauty. The moon stabilizes this tilt, keeping it relatively constant over millions of years. Without the Moon, Earth's axis might wobble dramatically, causing wild climate swings that would make the evolution of complex life far more difficult. Once again, the Moon proves essential, not just for tides, but for the very stability of seasons. Everything is connected. The Moon's formations stabilized the tilt. The tilt created seasons. Seasons shaped the evolution of life. And life, in turn, has transformed the planet's atmosphere, its surface, and its chemistry. Earth is not just a stage on which life appears. It's a partner, shaped by life as much as life is shaped by it. You are part of this ancient partnership, this dance between planet and life. Your body follows circadian rhythms tied to the sun, seasonal rhythms tied to the tilt, monthly rhythms tied to the moon. You are synchronized with cosmic cycles, connected to forces far larger and older than yourself. As you rest now, Earth continues spinning beneath you, tilted and turning, carrying you through space at thousands of miles per hour. You're traveling around the sun, and the sun is traveling around the galaxy, and the galaxy itself is moving through the universe. You're in constant motion, even when you feel completely still. But here, on the surface, everything feels stable. The ground holds you, the air surrounds you, gravity keeps you gently pressed against the planet. And in this moment, you can simply rest, carried safely through the cosmos on a world that was made for you, or that made you, or both. From ancient water cycling through time to our perfect position in the galaxy, Earth's story is one of extraordinary balance and fortune. As we approach the final wonders, the connections between all these threads become clearer. Everything connects, each wonder whispering to the next. Notice how it all weaves together. Every living thing on Earth is connected through a shared genetic code. All life, from the smallest bacterium to the largest whale, uses the same basic genetic language. DNA is made of the same 4 chemical letters in every organism. The instructions for building proteins follow the same rules, whether you're reading the genome of a mushroom, a maple tree, or a human being. This shared code is evidence of a single origin. Billions of years ago, one form of life emerged, perhaps in a warm tidal pool or near a deep-sea vent. That first living thing passed its genetic language to its descendants, and they passed it to theirs, branching and diversifying, but never abandoning the core system. You carry that ancient code within you. The same molecular machinery that copies your DNA and builds your proteins has been passed down, generation after generation, in an unbroken chain stretching back to the very beginning of life on Earth. This means you are related to everything alive. Not metaphorically, but literally. You share ancestors with oak trees, with honeybees, with dolphins and dandelions. The family tree of life includes every organism that has ever existed, all branching from the same ancient root. When you look at a forest, you're not seeing separate things. You're seeing relatives, distant cousins shaped by different paths, but carrying the same fundamental spark. Life recognizes itself in the code, in the chemistry, in the shared history written into every cell. The Gaia hypothesis suggests Earth functions as a single living system. In the 1970s, scientist James Lovelock proposed a radical idea. What if Earth itself behaves like a living organism? Not conscious, not purposeful in the way we understand purpose, but self-regulating, maintaining conditions suitable for life through feedback loops and complex interactions. The atmosphere, the oceans, the rocks, and all living things interact in ways that stabilize temperature, regulate gas concentrations, and maintain the conditions necessary for life to continue. When something changes in one part of the system, other parts respond, often in ways that restore balance. For example, when carbon dioxide levels rise, plant growth increases, pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. When the ocean becomes too acidic, chemical weathering of rocks releases compounds that neutralize the acidity. These aren't conscious decisions, but natural processes that, together, create stability. Life doesn't just exist on Earth, it shapes Earth. The oxygen you breathe was created by living organisms. The soil beneath your feet was built by billions of years of life, death, and decay. The climate itself is partly regulated by forests, plankton, and microbes that affect how much carbon stays in the air or gets stored underground. Whether you call it Gaia or simply Earth's biosphere, the principle remains. Everything is connected. The boundary between life and the planet is blurred. They've evolved together, shaped each other, become inseparable. You don't live on Earth. You live within it, as part of it. When a tree falls in a forest, it doesn't just disappear. Fungi break it down, releasing nutrients. Bacteria decompose the wood. Insects burrow through it. New plants grow from the enriched soil. What seems like an ending is actually a transformation, matter and energy cycling back into the system. Nothing is wasted in nature. Death feeds life. Decay creates growth. Every ending becomes a beginning somewhere else. And in this endless cycling, the planet remains alive, dynamic, constantly renewing itself through the participation of countless organisms. You are part of this cycle too. The atoms in your body have been borrowed from the Earth, and one day they'll return. The carbon in your bones, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your teeth, all of it came from somewhere else and will go somewhere else when you're done with it. This isn't sad, it's connection. It's participation in something far larger and older than any individual life. You're not separate from nature, observing it from the outside. You're woven into it, a temporary pattern in the endless dance of matter and energy that makes up the living Earth. The planet breathes through forests and oceans. It regulates its temperature through clouds and ice. It heals its wounds through succession and regeneration. And you, resting here now, are part of that breathing, that regulation, that healing. You belong to Earth as much as Earth belongs to you. From shared genetic code to the living planet itself, the deepest truth is connection. Nothing stands alone. Everything speaks to everything else. As we near the end, this understanding settles. Nearly there, or perhaps you've been gone for a while. Both are exactly right. Feel how heavy your body has become, how slow your breath. Just a few more whispers before silence settles in. Let go completely now. There's nothing left to hold. Ecosystems are held together by countless invisible relationships. When you look at a forest, you see trees, perhaps some birds or deer. But beneath the visible surface lies a network of relationships so complex that scientists are still discovering new connections. Every plant, every animal, every fungus and every microbe plays a role. Pollinators carry genes between flowers. Predators keep prey populations in check, preventing overgrazing. Decomposers break down dead matter, releasing nutrients that feed new growth. Mycorrhizal fungi connect tree roots, sharing resources across the forest floor. Each species depends on others in ways both obvious and hidden. Remove one piece, and the effects ripple outward. The loss of wolves changes how deer graze, which changes where trees grow, which changes the flow of rivers. The extinction of a single bee species might affect dozens of plant species, which in turn affects the animals that eat those plants. These relationships weren't designed. They evolved together over millions of years, each organism adapting to its neighbors until the whole system became interdependent. An ecosystem is not a collection of individuals. It's a living web where every strand connects to every other strand. You are part of this web too. The food you eat connects you to pollinators, to soil bacteria, to rainfall patterns. The air you breathe ties you to forests and oceans. Your body hosts communities of microbes that link you to other people, other animals, and the environment you move through. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is relationship, connection, exchange. The more we learn about nature, the more we discover how deeply interwoven it all is. Separate threads that, when pulled together, reveal a pattern of astonishing beauty and complexity. Feedback loops regulate Earth's climate over millions of years. Earth's climate is not static. It shifts over geological time, warming and cooling in cycles, influenced by countless factors. But despite these changes, life has persisted for billions of years, because the planet has built-in feedback loops that prevent runaway heating or cooling. When temperatures rise, more water evaporates, forming clouds that reflect sunlight back into space, cooling the planet. When carbon dioxide levels drop too low, volcanic activity releases more, preventing a permanent ice age. When the ocean becomes too acidic, weathering of rocks releases alkaline compounds that neutralize it. These feedbacks aren't perfect, and they don't work instantly. Climate can shift dramatically over thousands or millions of years. But over deep time, the system tends towards stability, creating conditions where life can continue to exist and evolve. Life itself participates in these feedbacks. Plants pull carbon from the air. Plankton in the ocean do the same, eventually sinking and storing that carbon in deep sediments. Forests influence rainfall. Microbes affect soil chemistry. The living and non-living parts of Earth work together, creating a planet that, while changing, remains habitable. This balance is delicate, maintained by processes operating at scales from microscopic to planetary. And right now, for the first time in Earth's history, one species, humanity, has the power to disrupt these ancient feedbacks faster than they can respond. But the knowledge of interconnection also offers hope. Understanding how these systems work means we can make choices that support them rather than undermine them. We can participate consciously in the web of relationships that sustains all life, including our own. Symbiosis is more common than competition in nature. We often think of nature as competitive, a struggle for survival where only the strongest thrive. And competition exists, certainly, but cooperation, partnership, and mutual benefit are just as fundamental, perhaps more so. Lichens are partnerships between fungi and algae. Coral reefs are built by partnerships between coral animals and photosynthetic algae. Your own body depends on partnerships with trillions of bacteria. Plants depend on fungi to gather nutrients. Pollinators and flowers depend on each other. The list goes on endlessly. These symbiotic relationships have driven some of the most important transitions in the history of life. The evolution of complex cells happened when one bacterium engulfed another and instead of digesting it, formed a partnership. That partnership gave rise to all plants, animals, and fungi. Even predators and prey are connected in ways that go beyond simple antagonism. Predators help keep prey populations healthy by removing sick or weak individuals. Prey animals shape predator behavior and evolution. They're locked in an ancient dance, each shaping the other over millions of years. Nature is not just red in tooth and claw. It's also green in root and branch, cooperating, sharing, and building together. The most successful organisms are often those that form partnerships, not those that dominate through strength alone. You exist because of cooperation. Your cells cooperate to form tissues. Your organs cooperate to keep you alive. Your microbiome cooperates with your immune system. You cooperate with other humans to create societies. Cooperation is woven into the very fabric of life. The carbon in your body was forged in the heart of ancient stars. Stars are the universe's great forges. In their cores, hydrogen fuses into helium, and helium into heavier elements. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, calcium, all the elements essential to life are created inside massive stars through nuclear fusion. When these stars reach the end of their lives, they explode as supernovae, scattering their newly forged elements across space. These elements drift in vast clouds, eventually coalescing to form new stars, new planets, and eventually, life. The carbon in your DNA, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all of it was created billions of years ago in stars that died long before our sun was born. You are made of star material, assembled on Earth but originating in the cosmos. This is not poetry, it's physics. Every atom heavier than hydrogen or helium in your body came from stellar nucleosynthesis. You are quite literally made of stardust, shaped by gravity and chemistry into a form that can think, feel, and wonder about its own origins. When you look up at the night sky, you're not looking at something separate or distant. You're looking at your own past, at the furnaces that forge the matter you're made of. The stars are not above you, they're within you. You carry the cosmos inside every cell. This connects you not just to Earth, but to the universe itself. You are a way for the universe to know itself, a temporary arrangement of ancient atoms that has somehow become aware, capable of looking back at the stars and recognizing kinship. You are part of Earth's story, and now, here in the quietness of this moment, let yourself feel the final truth. You are not separate from nature. You are nature itself, aware and alive. This is the truth beneath all the others. You don't just live in nature, observing it from outside. You are nature, experiencing itself from the inside. Every breath you take connects you to forests. Every thought you think arises from the same chemical processes that power all life. Your body is made of water that has cycled through oceans and clouds for billions of years. Your atoms were forged in ancient stars. Your cells carry genetic code shared with every living thing. You participate in ecosystems, nutrient cycles, and planetary processes simply by being alive. When you harm nature, you harm yourself. When you protect it, you protect yourself. There is no separation. The health of forests, oceans, and soils is your health. The stability of climate systems is your stability. What happens to the web of life happens to you because you are part of that web. This understanding changes everything. It means you belong here. You're not a visitor to Earth or an accident. You're an expression of the planet's creativity, one of countless forms life has taken over billions of years. You're Earth's way of knowing itself, of experiencing wonder and beauty, and it means you have a role to play, not as master or conqueror, but as participant, as partner in the ongoing story of life on this planet. Your choices matter because you're connected to everything else. What you do ripples outward through the web. This journey through 99 facts has been a journey through connection. From ocean depths to cosmic scales, from microscopic cells to planetary systems, every fact reveals the same truth. Nothing stands alone. Everything speaks to everything else, and you are part of that conversation. So rest now, knowing you belong. You are held by systems billions of years old, connected to everything that has ever lived or will ever live. You are safe in the web, supported by countless relationships you'll never see, but that sustain you every moment. The universe made you out of itself. The earth shaped you from its substance. And now you rest here, a temporary wave in an endless ocean, made of the ocean, never separate from it, always belonging. All these threads, from the smallest cell to the largest system, weave together into one truth. Everything connects, and you are part of this story. All these threads weave one truth. Nothing stands alone. From the smallest microbe to the largest forest, Earth breathes as one living system, and you are part of this story. We've journeyed through 99 wonders tonight, from ocean depths to the smallest cells, from glowing creatures to planetary rhythms. If you're still awake, that's perfectly okay. You can listen again tomorrow night. If you've drifted off, rest well. These quiet facts will be here whenever you need them. Thank you for joining me tonight. Good night and sleep well.